denial, or deferral of the application. It is the second vote that determines the board's recommendation to the City Council. These same matters will be heard by the City Council at a public hearing on October 10th, and then finally voted on at the City Council meeting at the end of the month. Please refrain from any verbal outbursts during the public hearing, and please only address the commission during the designated public comment time. All right. With that, Ms. Howard, please call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner McGinn? Commissioner Hadley?
Present.
Commissioner Perry?
Present.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Walters? Commissioner Williams? Present. Commissioner DeVon?
Here.
Commissioner Buggy? Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum, so with that, we'll move on to old business. Our first case being Z23-010, an application by Randy Arnold Jr. requesting to rezone from AG1 to SCPA. And with that, I'll pass it on to Director McClendon.
Commissioners, I am Reggie McClendon, Director of Community Development for the City of South Fulton. This is case Z23010. This case was originally heard at the August Planning Commission meeting, so you all have already had the public hearing. You deferred your recommendation. The case has since gone forward to City Council, where they also held their public hearings, but they have not yet made a final decision on the matter. Staff has updated its staff report, which you have in front of you. Our recommendation continues to be denial. We have updated the portion of the staff report that refers to parking at the facility. It is our estimation that 231 parking spots would be needed for this development. And the plan only shows 93 dedicated parking spaces for the religious facility and the recreation center. That and what we perceive to be an improper mix of uses is why staff has recommended denial. You all, as I say, you all have already had your public hearing, so you don't have to have another public hearing if you don't wish to. I believe the applicant is here to answer your questions, and staff is here.
Okay, thank you. So since we won't be opening a public hearing, commissioners, do you have any further questions about this case? I'd like to ask the applicant,
Has anything changed since the last walk?
does the applicant want to come forward and answer that question?
Yes. A couple of things, based on our last meeting. Just pass it down.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you and good evening, honorable commissioners. So I know we were here a few weeks ago, and it was deferred. So I want to kind of answer a few questions regarding parking. I think that was one of the main issues, as well as conformity. So here before you have a document that we have from the ordinances from the city of Southport, which speaks to mixed use. And so we feel like our building, which is a recreational building as well as a religious facility, meets the standard of mixed use. There are hundreds of thousands of examples of these type of buildings in the city of South Fulton, around the world, that have facilities that have recreational uses as well as religious uses. And a lot of these are within the mixed use communities. Now, as far as the parking is concerned, if you look on page of the staff report, on page 8 of the staff report, staff pretty much stated that if calculate the parking requirement, however, if the recreational use only occupies 25% of the structure, the shared parking requirement would still be 100 spaces for the mathematical space. Now, based on that number, what we did was we sent our site plan back to our engineer. We can scroll to the end of the document, to the site plan. We have updated the site plan to include the 111 spaces. You can't see the verbiage up there because, of course, we know site plans are pretty huge, but and that's a little distorted right now. But that does include the required spaces. This document has all of the required spaces along with all other standards within the mixed use requirements. So we have met the parking standard within the 25% structure that they're stating on this staffing report. And so we would ask that this zoning be approved. Number one, because we've already had 3 meetings with the citizens in District 5. We've had 3 meetings, all right? And 90% of those people, more than 90%, want this development. Outside of the church and the recreation center, there are 20 units, 20 townhome units. If this property was sold today, someone could come in, come in and you guys do a new zone and put 100 units there if they wanted to, 100 complex units. This area allows for that. The suburban 2 standing allows for us to have mixed use. So we feel like this development not only meets the requirements of mixed use, having residential, recreational, and institutional uses. So we're just asking for you guys to approve based on those factors.
Question for staff. So, in the new resubmitted plan, you submitted 111 spaces. Will that change staff's recommendation?
Thank you. So to be clear, where the 111 number came from is this. Because we don't have an actual building plan for the proposed 32,000 square foot religious / recreational facility, we can't accurately judge how many parking spaces would be needed. The city of South Fulton's code has a matrix of how we calculate the amount of parking that would be needed for a mixed use development. And that parking, and that calculation is based on what manner of uses are in the development and what times we believe that those uses would need the most available parking. And so the 111 number came from just a conjecture from staff saying that even if only 25% of this 32,000 square foot proposed building was used for the recreational use, then that's how many parking spaces that they need. We don't know if it's gonna be 25% because we don't have a building plan for the building. This one has been yet created. So we still wouldn't be able to actually say that that's how much parking would be required for this building. So our recommendation is to deny.
Where is the building?
I mean, they have, I might be mistaken on that, but it's.
Right, so we wouldn't purchase a building plan right now. We do have conceptual, plan that we received from our architect. And as well as the townhomes, right? And so what our architect did, along with our, civil engineer, on the site plan, you'll see that 8,000 square feet of the building is dedicated to the recreational facility, which is 25% of the entire building, which what we're trying to, which meets the standards that Mr. McClendon just referred to. And so again, I understand, we understand the fact that you can't, necessarily determine parking without a complete building plan, but we wouldn't want to spend, upwards of $20,000-$40,000 on a building plan without going through the full process of getting a zoning approval. So, again, these things, like I said, we've already presented this to the community, and the community actually wants this. This is something that has been thought about over and over. We've been going through this rezone process for over a year now with several different staff members of the city of South Florida, right? And so currently, right now, this staff is saying that, they're giving their reasons, and other staffs have given reasons for it to happen. So we're just asking that, we be allowed to complete this process and be able to build this lovely recreational facility. We're calling it a life center / recreational facility along with these townhomes.
How did you contact the community and tell us about that?
All right, so what we did was, prior to getting the list from this staff, we received an email list from our city, our council in District 5. So we reached out via email, we gave people the opportunity to we reached out via email, and we put a sign in front of the facility. So our first meeting, we had probably about, and this was an in-person meeting, we had about 27 people attend that meeting. The second meeting was a public meeting that we had with the city. And the third meeting was a Zoom call where we had over 50 people attend that meeting. And so, again, we've gone above and beyond what has been asked of us to get buy-in for this development. And again, the city has spoken now, we'll say the community has spoken, that community has spoken. And they kind of overwhelmingly stated that they want this development. And so again, it's up to you guys, up to you commissioners to determine whether or not it's feasible or it's something that's going to conform to the community. But we feel like this is more than what the community wants, it's more than what the community needs. The type of programs that we're getting ready to bring to the community with this type of development are game changers alone. I mean, educational programs, resources for first-time home buyers. I can go on and on and on about the things that we have planned.
Thank you.
Any questions?
So does it have to be rezoned before you have full development?
So this is not partisan information that we didn't have a building plan, but we didn't know that last.
Yes, it's conceptual, again, like I said, our architects and civil engineers are ready to create this facility, based off of what we already submitted. And even based off the last meeting that we had with you all, where we spoke about parking and all of those things, we made those corrections, right? And so our plan is to really conform to what has been asked of us from the city of Southport to meet all the standards.
You want to confirm until we get something concrete and conceptual, is nothing. It's so here,
Yeah,
that's just,
yeah, that's just your feeling. You feel it's a little?
No, ma'am. I said no, ma'am. That's a big ass. We need to make that, we need to put it to a vote.
I would just, if you allow me to.
Okay, well, but we'll gonna commiserate, maybe someone will have more questions for you. Does anyone else have any more questions before we do go ahead and take our vote? Okay. In that case, you can go ahead and take a seat. I will entertain a motion to accept the staff's findings of fact.
I make a motion to accept staff's findings of facts.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Nay.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner DeVon, Commissioner Britton.
Nay.
All right, we'll move on to, I'll entertain a motion now to, I guess, approve the third Ordinance case. You make a motion. Mr. Williams,
okay, I'll make a motion to defer.
properly moved and seconded, Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Nay.
Commissioner Perry,
Nay.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner DeVon,
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to item 2, public hearing U 23-007. Ms. London, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Case U 23-007, 7240 Hopkins Road, Fairburn, Georgia. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here.
This case will continue from your last calendar. This is a request for a special use permit to operate a short-term rental at an existing single-family dwelling located at 7240 Hopkins Road, 30213 in the R2 single-family dwelling district that is Council District 4. Council staff recommendation for approval conditional, with the condition being that the special use permit is not transferable, that the permittee is required to maintain a valid South Fulton business license.
Thank you. So, that's,
We already had public hearing.
we already have a public hearing for
No,
the case?
not for this.
Okay, okay. We'll now open the public hearing. And first we'll have the applicant come up and then you'll leave space, you have 10 minutes, so if there's anyone else who wants to speak for this case, we will leave room for that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, commissioners. This is regarding my property at 7040 Hopwood Road. I've owned this property since 2021. It's been a short-term rental since early last year. And we went through the business license process and approved that. And it's been a short-term rental since, again, since about early last year. And recently found out about the special use permit requirement for short-term rentals and started the process to go through the application in May. And So a little about the property itself. We own several short-term rentals throughout areas in Atlanta, and we only purchase them when they're on large lots. This property is on a 1.3 acre lot, and we really don't have any neighbors except for one direct neighbor to the left of the house, facing the street. To the right of the house is an empty lot, which is in a flood zone. Behind us is a big agricultural land, and in front of us is Hopwood Road, which is a major road. We have very strict requirements on accepting any reservations up front. There's a lot of bold letters on our advertising websites through Airbnb and VRBO that we discourage any kind of large gathering, that essentially lets people know that this is strictly a home that can be used for quiet enjoyment, not any kind of gathering. And they'll have to sign a rental agreement, they'll have to acknowledge a lot of different things before we can accept the reservation. And we have detective measures, we have cameras all around the exterior of the property, we have noise sensors both inside and out that alert us and the guests if the noise exceeds a certain amount, certain threshold during the quiet hours. And fortunately, we've had no incidents with guests. And we've had several reservations here at the property already. We did invite the neighbors as part of the requirements for the special use permit. We sent certified mail to all the neighbors. They attended the property. They asked questions. They actually really loved the property. I have a picture here of all the neighbors here in attendance. Yeah, so I think I'll answer any questions now.
Okay, we'll continue the public hearing and then we'll ask questions afterwards.
Okay.
Ms. Howard, do we have any cards for this case? Not four? Okay.
We have one against.
Okay, then we'll move on to against and you can give the rest of your time.
Okay.
Alvin Reynolds.
Okay. Mr. Reynolds? Okay, you can go ahead and take a seat and we'll have you come back up.
Good evening. Commissioner Alvin Reynolds, 585 Kingsway, Riverdale, Georgia, 20296. I reside in District 7. A lot of times we come before the commissioners with things that are not in our district but in the city. And we feel that it is our obligation to address items that is across the city because what happens in one district happens in the other. Simple as that. These particular cases where you're talking about short-term rentals, it's often the concern is about security and about monitoring. Although cameras and things are in place, there still to be a lack of security when these buildings are being rented for short-term rentals. Although the applications and everything they put forth to say you have to sign this, that, and the other, doesn't necessarily mean that they're being followed. So I'm not really hearing a lot of follow up, but security purposes are concerned. This property does sit basically alone, which helps a lot, but yet and still, we want to get more stringent security measures when we talk about the short-term rental projects. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. That was our only card? Yes. Okay. In that case, we will, how much time for rebuttal? 7 minutes.
So regarding security, I wasn't sure if the gentleman was referring to security of the property or because we have an alarm system at the property which is for the property itself, but I wasn't clear about which security.
Yeah, I think just
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah, so again, in terms of the, reservations, this could be a rental property with, tenants, regular center tenants that we went to as agreed, tenants could have other friends come over, there could be other people that they invite to the property. With short-term rentals, at our properties, we don't allow any visitors, so once the booking is made, the people that are on that reservation, we ask for the first and last name of everyone on that listing, on the reservation, and we know who they are, and there's no visitors allowed. And again, we have the cameras in place to be able to monitor the property, we have the noise sensors, and with the amount of reservations that we've had, we've never had any issues with our guests, fortunately. Our guests are mainly families coming into town, they have family reunions, birthdays, it could be midterm to long-term rentals. We've had people in the movie industry rent their home. It's a really nice home with a pool. The rate on this property is quite high, so the caliber of people renting it are typically pretty high. It ranges anywhere from $400 to $700 a night, which means you don't have just random people. There's less expensive properties that people can rent and do rowdy things in. But again, it's a really well-maintained property. We have landscaping maintained professionally. We have pool service. We have a cleaning company that goes in and cleans. So our eyes are really, we're touching that property multiple times a week. And I think our neighbor actually has a camera on his exterior as well. And we're in contact by text. Fortunately, we've never had any issues, but we have a very good relationship with him, and he texts us anytime if we have any concerns.
Thank you. We now close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions for staff or for the applicant? Commissioner Booth?
Yes, say of the number of rentals that you do, say 100, out of that 100, how many of them are in-state rentals?
All of my properties are in-state. I only have about 15 short-term rentals throughout Metro Atlanta. They're in different suburbs. This is the only one in the city of South Fulton. But I also own a property management company, so the property is professionally managed with my staff. We have property manager, leasing agent, maintenance. We manage around 150 properties in Atlanta. 15 of them are short-term rentals.
I think she's referring to.
I'm talking about this property.
She's referring to the guests who stayed in.
Oh, the guests, how many are in state? It's really,
Thank you.
I don't have that statistic. I'm not sure how many of them are in state or out of state. Mainly our renters are coming from out of state, traditionally speaking, but they could be in state as well, so I don't really have that statistic to be able to provide that.
You mentioned your neighbor, that you have a good relationship with your neighbor. Is your neighbor also renting an Airbnb as well? Or it's just a
No,
person?
no, Mr. Randy, he owns the property. He's been there for, I think, a few decades.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So your cameras are external, not internal?
Correct, yeah, that would be illegal.
Okay. How do you know that your clients are not, patrons are not bringing visitors in?
We wouldn't know if we wouldn't know if they're bringing visitors in. We do have the noise sensors. And the noise sensors, typically, if you have a certain number of people speaking at the same time, it would trigger the noise sensor to let us know that there's more people, just because a lot of people speaking at the same time would create loud noise. But no one's sitting there,
This is inside, the noise sensor is inside?
They're both inside and outside, yes. And,
So if you have a family reunion,
yes.
you wouldn't know if they brought in a couple undesirables.
We wouldn't know if they bring in, but we can see how many cars there are parked outside. We have full-time staff running on the weekends as well, so we're monitoring. I mean, no one's sitting there to see how many people are individually going inside and outside the house, but we're periodically pulling up the cameras to see how many people are, outside the house. At night, we really discourage anyone to be outside. The camera threshold, the sensor thresholds are a lot more sensitive on the outside they're set at 30 decibels, so if the noise travel is more than 30 decibels, it triggers alerts, so.
And then what do you do?
The way that works is it's through a software, it's through a service provider. It sends the guests that we already provide the guest list to this company. It sends them an automatic text message saying, hey, we've detected noise that's over this amount. We need you to quiet it down. If they don't do that, it sends them another alert 10 minutes later. It's a more harsh warning, and if they don't act on that, then it notifies us. And then the person on duty, or our staff on duty actually engages in a phone call and calls the guest and tells them to.
Yes, sir.
Will now entertain a motion to accept the staff's findings of fact.
I make a motion to accept staff findings of facts.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner DeVon, Commissioner Boone. Ayes have it.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer this case.
I make a motion to approve U 23007 at 7240 Hobgoblin Road, Fairland, Georgia, per staff's recommendation.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner DeVon, Commissioner Boone.
Nay.
The ayes have it.
Okay, we'll now move on to new business, public hearing U 23-011. Application by Frederick Gresham requesting a special use permit to operate Salon Studios. And I'll pass that off to Director Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Case number 23011, 3220 Butler Road, Suite 140. This is a request for a special use permit to operate Salon Studios located at the aforementioned address, which is in the mixed-use zoning district. Just for the edification of the commission, all barbershops, beauty salons, hair salons in the city of South Fulton have to have a special use permit to operate, and so that is why this case is before you today. The staff recommendation is approval conditional. The condition being that the special use permit is not transferable and that the permit is required to maintain a valid South Fulton business license in order to operate in order to continue to operate the salon.
We'll now open the public hearing. Is the applicant present?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to come up? We have 10 minutes for, so save time if you want others to speak as well, and if you want space for a vote.
Well, actually, it's actually Salon Suites. I'm trying to it's like, but, just to give you just a brief synopsis of what's going on. I live in the city of South Fulton, and I do want to bring this Salon Suites to the city of South Fulton. We do have our salons and barbershops over there. We have nail salons, things of that nature. But this is just something that we're rebranding, repackaging, and bringing to the city of South Fulton. It's going to generate more revenue. It's also going to speak to different clientele. It's going to allow me to employ other, I guess, people who want their own actual suite, their own business, their own identity. So we're going to do that as well. I do have other businesses, I have a tour company, also all daycares, also have rental properties, so it's not our first rodeo. I have a master degree in business, and we're right next, literally right next to the police department. We have already made the correct renovations to the facility to make it top tier. And if you all want to come by and check it out anytime, definitely will do that. We're just asking that you allow us to operate the city of South Fulton and work with, I would say, the community, work with the board, work with whoever would like to work with us, and just allow us to have to
Gresham. I am a resident of the city of South Fulton. I am here to state that I am for Gresham Salon Suites. I think it will be a great asset to the community.
Thank you.
Michael Coleman.
My name is Michael Coleman. I don't reside in the community, however, I am a realtor and, one of the people who helped Mr. Gresham get this Salon Suite started. And I think he would be an asset, to the community based on, especially the last 3 years, with the COVID things going on. A lot of people have been, have shut their doors, for salons and barbers, things of that nature, so this will give them a chance to get back in, into the swing of things and help the community.
Thank you.
And Reginald Orman.
Hey, good evening. I just want to come up and just support Mr. Gresham and his business. I've been a resident of South Fulton since 2010, and we definitely want business. We want to employ people from the community, and I am very happy that Mr. Gresham lives in District 2 with me. So definitely we need it, and we need to spend our money in the community and have some more upscale options. Nothing against what we have, but I like the idea of letting other people come and have their own identity and learn additional skills instead of just working for someone, having their own brand also. So I'm in full support.
Thank you. That's it for?
That's all for 4. I have one against.
One against. Okay, let's move on to against, and then we can come back to a vote.
Robin Reynolds.
Yes, it's me again. But, on this one, Alvin Reynolds, by case plate 57. On this one right here, we probably want to ask that, addition to staff recommendation, that, we look at, I think I heard this applicant say that these are going to be suites. And, the petition speaks of, salon studio. So, with that being said, are they going to, with the suites being put in place, are they going to be just, hair or whatever being done in the suites, or is that gonna open the door for selling of products and so forth, things of that nature? Basically, what I'm saying is, we don't wanna go down that road and create a flea market. We wanna just make sure that they're doing what they say they're gonna do. Have there been any, measures put in place when we talk about chemicals? You talk about hair salons and so forth, you're using chemicals and so forth. Has there been any environmental measures put in place so that the chemical drain off wouldn't be getting into the potable water and so forth and things like that? Have we looked into things, things of that nature? Is there some of the things that when you talk about hair salons and nail salons and so forth, that we feel that some things need to be addressed? But putting these things along with staff recommendation, that's what.
Thank you. Would you like to come back up and give your rebuttal?
Yes, ma'am, I don't want to ask what?
How much time do we have left?
Yeah, how much?
6 minutes and 2 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
But this topic just to this point, it was already a hair salon. So the only thing that we did was rebrand and repackage and give you a better product. As far as the suites individually, no, it's not a flea market. We put over $120,000 into this project. Just going through the plan to come. So, it's not our standard, it's not the standard in the city, it's not Fulton. And we won't embarrass ourselves or embarrass you guys. We're putting out something like that. Again, if there's anything that we need to address, or we have to address, then we definitely will do that. But even as far as us hiring, their top tier clients and all. They have their own licensing, they have their own brand, their own business identity, and their own clients. So there's nothing that we're doing except for housing this space and allowing them the opportunity to be creative and present what they want to present out into the city of Southport. Yes, ma'am.
We'll now close the public hearing. I know I have a few questions for commissioners. So maybe we can have a few questions. Yes.
Got a question for applicant, just to be clear, in the space itself, are the suites, are they like separated, with a separate entrance for each stylist, or is it just a big area like this, and you're calling it a suite, but they're renting a booth?
No, sir, it's a separate, entity. I did have, I guess, pieces out of the but I have like security sitting on my phone, if I have two, I can show you what it looks like. But they're separate, on private entrances. First of all, again, it's a lobby area. So the lobby area consists of the sofa, two chairs, there's also a receptionist that's there. And then it's 8 suites. So 8 individual suites, we have 2 larger suites, and we have 6 standard suites. We have also a kitchen, that consists of a wait area, has a television in there, we have washing dryer, in there, and we also have, 2 bathrooms that we got the stuff, and we met all the code.
So are they operating, is it one business license of each one of your, booth renters, because they're separate businesses?
Yes, sir.
Do they all have to have their own business licenses?
Yes, sir. So in order,
So they're not employees?
right, so in order for them to actually even obtain a suite, they have to have the criteria that's set forth by the state to come in and say, like, for instance, okay, I'm housing the suites. But if it's someone that comes in and says, hey, I want a suite, it's just like a booth at the barber shop, but it's just your own private suite. It's like, okay, I don't wanna hear what you're talking about, so let me close the door and give you your time while you're there. But you have those standards, those guidelines for that particular business. It's nothing else.
So each business is
It's a separate entity,
a separate entity?
right, as far as liability purposes.
So Rose's Barbershop, Monica's Beauty Salon.
Right. Now, I take full responsibility and ownership for who comes in and out.
But you're the landlord, basically.
So, yes, sir.
Parking, isn't that over there where there's a lot of other businesses? Is there enough parking for that? I'm familiar with the suites, cause I go to a suite when I go. And yeah, so I like suites. So each suite is lockable and it's like, okay, its own room and everything, but about the parking, that's what, and pictures, I want to see the layout and pictures and parking, those are my big questions.
Okay. As far as pictures, then I can show you on my phone, like what I have. And as far as the parking, yes, there is adequate amount of parking spaces allotted there. We took it on as a lease, so when we took it on as a lease, we also required the parking that was there for that particular business. We don't do late hours. The reason for that is because of the parking of the St. James Live and of the Bellas and of the, the Infinities and et cetera. We are kind to our neighbors, and if there's any issues that we have, they're by appointment. So it's not like they're just coming and walking into anything that they should have all appointments on.
So the people that you lease to, they can do their own hours or they can't? Do you have an agreement with them that even though I have these 8 suites and this is your business, you can only operate during this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You have more questions? Sure, you want to see the pictures? I think you can hand it to her. You're good, okay. All right, thank you. Well, in that case, I will entertain a motion to accept the staff's findings of fact.
Make a motion to accept staff's findings of fact.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Walters,
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Devon,
Make a motion to approve U23-011 at 3220 Butler Road, based on staff's conditions.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, Ms. Howard, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Walters,
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Devon,
Aye.
Commissioner Boone.
Abstain.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to item 2, public hearing U23-012, application by Beverly Allen requesting special use permit to operate a short-term rental.
Thank you once again, Madam Chair. 023-012 is an application for a special use permit to operate short-term rental at the existing single-family residential dwelling located at 4144 Ordinance Place, Regional 349, in the CUP, Community Unit Plan Zoning District. This is in Council District 4. Staff recommendation is approved conditional, with the condition that the special use permit is not transferable and that the permit is required to maintain a valid business license.
We'll now open the public hearing. Is the applicant present? One forward. You'll have 10 minutes for your thing, so just leave space if other people are also going to speak.
I'm just applying for a special use permit for to operate a short-term rental. It's for 1 unit, single family home now.
Do you have any cards for no or to anyone to against?
Jacqueline Johnson.
Good evening.
My name's Jacqueline Johnson, and I am a resident and HOA board member of the property at 4144 Butternut Place. Prior to the notification that was assigned that was seen in the yard, the HOA board, I'm the secretary, we had no indication and no prior notification. Our HOA guidelines prohibits leasing in our neighborhood, in our subdivision. Prior to the meeting, we had a meeting with Mrs. Allen, and the president, Russell Thomas, and myself had a virtual meeting with her, and she agreed to close her calendar beginning January 2024. But she said that she had to honor her client that she's already closed. As I stated, we were not aware, but we've had a problem with 14 property managers in our subdivision, where we have to go around and get signatures from homeowners, because homeowners tend to take care of their property in the community than renters. These are, look,
You can present that, yeah.
okay. These are applicants from all the homeowners, 51, that stated that they were in favor of no more renters in the neighborhood. Homeowners have reached out to me because I'm the secretary. I'm really active in this community. Have reached out, are we going backwards? Are we having renters again? We are highly opposed to this, and we're asking the planning division to restrict it. We have set up flock safety cameras to deter crime. Prior to the cameras, we've had people checking cars, homeowners, doors, packages being stolen. But the flock safety cameras, they have deterred crime in our subdivision. We feel like if short-term renters are there, we have narrow streets, traffic congestion. We are in the process of getting City of South Fulton no parking on the street signs. It should be coming to us in the next couple of weeks. So street parking, safety, security, we have a lot of children in our neighborhood. We don't know who's coming in, who's going out. And traffic congestion.
Thank you. Do we have one more?
Alvin Reynolds.
Mr. Reynolds?
Real brief here. On this one here, it's probably more so a question for staff. And it's about the ordinance 22-045, which was adopted by the city council in December of 22. That this ordinance reduces the number of zoning districts allowed short-term rentals and determine the operator must first apply for special use permit. They could elaborate on that ordinance a little bit as to, does this mean that there is only a certain amount of short-term rentals that can be utilized within the community, or is there not, or is that unlimited? So that's all I have on this one.
Thank you. Okay, how much time for rebuttal? Would you have to, rebuttal? No? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and close the public comment then, and, commissioners? Yeah, yeah. Do you want to ask them that?
Oh, staff.
You did.
Staff, can you answer the question that, Ms. Reynolds raised about the ordinance, specifically, if there's a percentage of the demarcation as to the amount of short-term rentals that can be used for?
No, the ordinance only mentions which zoning districts would be appropriate for short-term rentals. It does not place any cap on the number of short-term rentals that can be granted either throughout the city or in any particular district of the city.
If an HOA restricts short-term rentals in the community, does that have any weight, or do we adhere to it, or have to adhere to it?
No, that doesn't have anything to do with the city. That would be a private civil matter between the homeowner and their agent.
So, private matter between them, so they sign a covenant, right? They buy the property.
Correct. At least presumably, I can't specifically.
Gotcha. So, the city saying that it doesn't honor, or its ordinance is its ordinance, it has no bearing on what the individual neighborhood covenant is.
That's correct. The city is not in privity of contract with either the homeowner or the community. And so that simply just does not have anything to do with it.
So if we were to, let's just say that the commission approved this, the applicant is saying that she's going to comply with the covenant, right? But she's saying that she's gonna comply with the covenant, but she has to go to January to do that. So there's no, if we give any leniency there, we basically, anybody could do this in that covenant community.
You confused me a little bit because I didn't hear maybe perhaps I was doing something different. I didn't hear the piece about January.
Yes, so the applicant stated, well, the applicant didn't state this, excuse me. The rebuttal, the opposing community person, excuse me, early night, stated that in a Zoom meeting or virtual meeting with the president and herself and the applicant, that the applicant said, I've got to honor the contracts that I have until January 2024.
Understood. So can you repeat your question?
Basically, if we were to decide in favor of the applicant, this is going, even though the cities, this is kind of funny, because I've dealt with HOAs before, right? So we would just be basically saying the ordinance overrules, the ordinance overrules the covenant.
Absolutely not. We don't have the authority to overrule their private covenants.
It just has nothing to do with my decision.
We only can go by what city South Fulton, Ordinance cities, we can't go by anything with HOA.
Because that's a private matter. Got you, okay.
So just one more question, so just so I'm clear, because I think it was a hierarchy in terms of law, and how it applies. So state law, there's nothing else, state law and city law, but because the covenants, as public record, they do have, they do actually, they do bear, you can add that level of detail and specificity to a situation as long as it's a public document.
Right, I will say this, I am a lawyer, but I'm not one today. So, that's a legal, opinion that I'm not willing to give from this point.
I think from HOA standpoint, they have to, like the city can't enforce a covenant. The HOA has to, it's a private act. And as a former HOA president, you can't, they can't take action based on the covenant, but we can, the city can. And let me say, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not giving any kind of legal advice.
Commissioner Vaughn? Go ahead.
You know, it may be irrelevant, but, Secretary, I'm sorry that I forgot your name, please forgive me.
Jackson Johnson.
Okay, yes. How old is this subdivision?
I've been there since 2016, and some of the older homes on Butternut Place have been there since 2008.
So did you have an HOA doing from the beginning?
Yes.
So everyone that is built or moved in there?
Has an HOA.
And this particular stipulation has always been in the code?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
And, last question. Do you have a copy of that section of the covenant?
For the applicant,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I may,
Yes.
were you familiar with this?
No, prior to starting the short-term visa process, I wasn't familiar with it. Until I received a notice from them, and they made me aware of what was going on, which is the reason why I said that, you know, I would try to cure the deficiency, because they sent me a notice. But I just asked them to allow me to finish, out my calendar, and then, you know, but, you know, they said that they had fines as long as it's operating, that I'll have to pay, so I agreed to do that.
Thank you for your answer.
Last question for the applicant. How long have you been short-term renting your property?
A few months.
What's a few months? 2 months?
Maybe two. Because I had a couple of short-term rentals, and now I have, someone who's been in there for 4 months, so it's not really a short-term rental, but then I have people after they're leaving that's coming in for less than 30 days, which is short-term, so I thought I needed a license for that.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the staff's findings of fact.
I make a motion to accept staff findings and facts.
A second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hatton,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Walters,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Devon,
Aye.
Commissioner Boone.
Sorry, this is for finding the facts.
Yes.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and now we entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer this case.
I make a motion to approve based on staff findings.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hatton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker? Nay. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVon?
Aye.
And Commissioner Boone?
Nay.
The ayes have it.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 3, public hearing 23-013, application by Brian and Deborah Davis. And I'll pass that off to Director McClendon.
All right, U 23-013 is a request for a special use permit to operate a short-term rental at the existing residential dwelling located at 4857 Middle Ridge, 30349, in the R2A single family zoning district, St. Council District 5. The staff recommendation for this case is denial. The reason for the recommendation of denial is, as stated a few minutes ago, Ordinance 22-045 was adopted by City Council in December 2022. And in that ordinance, it specified particular zoning districts in which City Council felt was appropriate for short-term rentals. The R2A zoning district was not included in that list of approved zoning districts. And therefore, staff has recommended denial of
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing with the application.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate your time this evening, watching. I appreciate your time this evening. We thank you guys have important things that you have to do. And you take the time to get personal lives and everything. I first, if I can, want to walk through a couple of corrections on this. First of all, this is our home. It is not primarily a short-term rental. It's our home. So we have the furniture that's used in it is ours. Our family pictures are in it. It's our home. I am serving within the community. So I am the neighborhood watch captain within the community. And we actively work the neighborhood with a group of about 6 of us. They actively work the neighborhood consistently to make sure that the neighborhood is safe. That means that we're up at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, with sheriff, doing the rounds in the neighborhood, to make sure that everything's okay in the neighborhood. And I am on the record as the person that the police would call should anything happen in the neighborhood, or should they need any information, call me on a regular basis. So our first concern is for the safety of the neighborhood. It's the safety of the neighborhood of the resident, but also we just have a general concern about our neighborhood. The second thing in the application is that it says the existing rental serves primarily medium to long-term rentals for roommates in the film industry. To be clear, we host weddings from time to time. We host reunions from time to time. We may host some guests from time to time that may be attending the convention, but we are very strict on who we allow in our house, Mr. Hammond. We are very strict about that. We make sure that our house and the property that's inside of our house is protected. We have cameras around our property, on the external side of our property, and we watch that as people check in. We have a count on the number of guests that are supposed to be there, and when they come in, I'll open it up. We have 2 ways of entry, and I'm monitoring those ways of entry as they come in and counting people. And we have talked to some guests who have brought some additional people when that comes. When that happens, typically we make it a visit. It's not a phone call. We will visit them. And again, since it's our property, we will come sometimes to sit outside the property and look at what's going on our property, okay? We have not had anybody from the film industry in our house. We have not had anybody from the restaurant industry. And to my knowledge, we have not had any Delta airline employees or any other airline employees stay in our house. Next thing, I'm trying to hop through this real fast. Well, let me talk next about the boundaries and what's going on. I believe you all have a copy of what's, of these pictures here. So additional comments. One, lots number 4254, 458, 4857, 4849, and 4845 are owned by us.
Would you recall those out again?
4254, 4857, 4849, and 4845. Those are owned by us. We've been in this neighborhood. We were the first house in the neighborhood. And the area that we live in, this again is an area that has not been developed for 15 years at least. Okay. Our neighbors came in probably within the first 18 months. There was active development. There has been no development in the neighborhood since then. As a result, the other properties that are listed on this page, except for 116, are uninhabited. If you go on down Neil Ridge, further down Neil Ridge, there's one neighbor that resides right next to 4845. He's been our neighbor for 7 years now, I believe. He has actually attended some of the events at our house. And we've had some other neighbors from our neighborhood attend some of the events at our house.
One of the reasons why Brian and I bought the lots next to us is because we were trying to keep the property value of the area up. On the other side, probably maybe a mile on the other side, there's a developed community. And they were all really complaining because the person that owned the property lived in Africa. So you can imagine people were using the cul-de-sacs to dump things out. It was causing the whole area to develop. So what we did is we got a hold of a realtor who was able to find the person, and we purchased those land. And what we did was we developed them. So the people that are behind us, Dr. Holt, which is one of the tenants, he praises us for it all the time because we fixed it up. And now the kids in the neighborhood can come over and have a place because it's over like 3 to 4 acres that we developed because of it. So the house sits in an area by itself. And we primarily do things like weddings, as my husband said, or reunions or things like that. And I only host maybe once a quarter. We live in the house every day. So I don't know where the long-term thing came from in the pamphlet, because that's our house. And we shut it down whenever our kids are home from October to November. But I may host maybe 4 or 5 times.
And on average, sorry.
That's okay.
On average, those are going to be 2 days. And in fact, if it's a wedding or if it's a reunion, my wife is usually there with them.
For the caterer, you know, people like that, and I try to make sure everything goes smoothly for the guests. And one of the reasons I got into this was a film company who I actually did absolutely free said, have you ever thought about doing something like this? I never even knew this type of world even existed. And my neighbors enjoyed it. They were all able to come over and participate. I didn't know that you could have neighbors here, so I would have asked them to come. I didn't know.
We did send out.
We did send your notifications out, but I didn't actively ask, would you like to come and stand out?
Can I just finish?
Yeah, sure, I'm sorry.
So geographically behind the house, there's a broad ravine back there that will not allow any development further back. On the side of the street, just below 4254, there's a dry retention pond area, so that we know that we developed that. And it also serves as a division, if you will, to the rest of the neighborhood. There's one entry street and one other street. On the other side, just below 4257, there used to be a park, but now it is, because the ravine has been flooded for a couple of years, there's nothing there. It can't be developed, we cannot restore it as a park, as a neighborhood, because the property up the way from us has allowed the dam to break and the water has come down and fill that park as well as fill our backyard. So, that would be it for me.
Thank you.
To wrap that up, I'm sorry.
Oh.
We do ask that we be allowed
Is
to
that the time limit?
continue as
Are there any, I guess there can't be any cards for because, is it just beat? Is that telling me that the 10 minutes is up? They have nothing to do. Is,
No hard.
no cards for against, nothing? Okay. Well, in that case, I'll close the. Nothing. Nothing for or against. I'll close the public hearing. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and, now commissioners, I know Commissioner Williams has a question in. Go ahead.
Is this in District 5 or District 3? According to the paper, one say 3 and one say 5.
That might be a typo on behalf of staff. Can you tell me where does it say 3?
Okay, it says 3 on the application information, and on the front page, our memorandum, it says 5.
Let me see if I can find that out.
I got a question for the applicant. So, to me, it boils down to just the technicality of the law that your property is not zoned for this special use permit, and it's not included. And, I guess, have you considered rezoning to one of the, or requesting rezoning to one of the permitted zoning so you can do this use permit?
We have not. Tonight is the first that we knew that it was going to come, it was not allowed. So I guess we would have to come back and ask permission for that. We will do whatever is necessary. I don't know what goes into the zoning, but again, the property at this point has not been built for over a decade.
Then a question for staff, Mr. Clinton, you see this?
Yes, he's back there.
Would that meet the requirements if they submitted a request to rezone and then a special permit? To rezone seven from R2A to R2 and then request a permit, would that work?
Yes, but if the rezoning were granted.
So I'm just speaking to the board, maybe we should refer and allow them to properly.
Yeah, Commissioner Williams?
If they ask for the rezoning, they have the other lots, they have to rezone all the lots or just the one lot that they want the special use permit?
Just the lot that they want for the special use permit for. To answer your earlier question, is District 3, not District 5.
Okay, so
And may I ask a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, the commissioners do have to ask the questions, so the commissioner has the questions. When the public hearing closes.
Question of staff. Does District 3, does that change the zoning requirements, or is it still under your same recommendation?
The recommendation would stay the same. The recommendation is based on the zoning district, not the council district.
Both? Yeah, I'll do that now. I'll now entertain a motion to accept, staff's findings of fact.
I make a motion to accept the staff findings of fact with corrections. Council district on the application.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley?
Aye.
Commissioner Perry?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Walters? Aye. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVon,
Aye.
Commissioner Boone.
No.
Ayes have it.
I will now entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer this case.
I make a motion to defer U 23-013-4857 to the case planning commission meeting.
I second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner DeVon,
Aye.
Commissioner Boone.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We move on to public hearing U 23-014, application by Wendy Smith Martin requesting special use permit to operate a church or other religious facility. That'll pass it off to staff.
Thank you. Case number 23-014 is an application for a special use permit to operate a church or other religious facility for religious organizations worship at the address that I believe is currently 0 Old National Highway, parcel ID 13088LL0487. And we will identify our parcel ID, because I believe that the actual parcel is not receiving address yet, of the one they have been requested. This is a request to build a religious facility in the AG1 zoning district. The future land use is regional road work. This is in the Old National Highway Overlay District. Staff's recommendation is approved.
We'll now open the public hearing. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Come on.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Wendy Smith Martin. I am the senior pastor of Greater Victory Christian Center. I have been the senior pastor for some 20+ years. I started Greater Victory Christian Center in 2002 in my family room with 15 persons that I had reached out to. Our first night of service was in a hotel, which was Sheraton Hotel up in Cobb County, which is where I was residing at that time. 15 persons joined on that first night, and it's been a glorious blessing ever since. 2004, we only lasted a couple of years in the hotel. In 2004, we purchased our first building, which was in East Point, Georgia, 2950 Sylvan Road, and we stayed there until 2016. Because of the growth, we had developed a summer camp. We were feeding the community, which is right at the intersection of, which we still do, the intersection of Cleveland Avenue and Sylvan Road. We give clothes out. We were just a blessing to the community, and that's the community we still love. However, after the growth spur took place, we came together, we sold our property, and we started service in our temporary location is where we've been for 7 years. 7 is the year complete, is the sign of completion, so we've been here for 7 years. The land that was adjacent to where we are worshiping now is vacant. It has been vacant and was vacant for 35 years. We pursued the land, purchased it in 2020, February of 2020, prior to the pandemic. And so the land has been there. However, we have worked tirelessly to get to this point, to come before this council, to plead our case, to say we too will be an asset to the community of Old National. Our dreams and our plans are so in depth for the community, and the overlay of Old National is where we want to draw men and women, boys and girls, to come to have a place to worship, not only worship, because we have 13.19 acres of land that's debt free. And these wonderful people that you see behind me have stood with me and stood behind me for some 20+ years. We are now ready for our home. I too am a resident now since 2010 of South Fulton. So I'm going to put all of my everything that I have left in leadership, in pastorate, in, just being in the community into South Fulton. I do have Mr. Elder Joe Tarver is here that also would like to speak as well as relate to the project and our work, what we have been doing.
Thank you, Pastor. Pastor spoke to the spiritual end of everything. I'll speak to the factual end of it. We have submitted to the city of South Fulton and began submission over 2 years ago with a set of building plans to build a 9,000 square foot sanctuary. We will be disturbing about 5.5 acres of the 13 acres. The sanctuary will seat exactly 301 people. We'll have community rooms and other facilities, typical of a standard religious facility. We have met, to our best ability, the requirements of being on the state highway with our parking and our setbacks. We have submitted the plans and necessary to satisfy the requirements for the outside of the structure to be compliant with the Old National Highway Overlay District. And we're literally to the point now, if this special use permit is granted, we are prepared to go. We have all the drawings and everything else, which have been pre-approved a couple of years ago by the city of South Fulton. And we'll get the process of building as soon as we get this approval, hopefully, and our building permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any cards for? Yes. Okay. Let's, how much time is left so that everyone can be aware?
5 minutes and 26 seconds.
Okay.
Alvin Reynolds?
Definitely in favor of, but I was concerned because I didn't see a site plan, you know, and I was also concerned about a traffic study and not being done one because you're building right next to the Grand Lodge. And I didn't know whether or not the hours of operation would, you know, interfere with that and create some traffic problems there. So those were a couple of the concerns, but the gentleman did speak of the plans that have been submitted. He talked about the district overlay. I was glad with that, because a lot of times people they come up with these developments and have not even thought about the overlay. But it seems like all T's have been crossed and I's dotted, you know, so.
Tracy Hudson?
Hi, good evening. So not only am I a member of Great Victory Christian Center as a trustee, but I'm also a resident of the city of South Fulton. I should be at my homeowners association meeting, but I came to support my church. And one of the reasons why is I wanted you guys to know that we have been a part of the city of South Fulton even before we purchased the land. We adopted Heritage Elementary School. See, Pastor forgot to say all that because of all of the things we do, not just when we were in East Point, but even in South Fulton. We purchased toys during the Christmas holidays and uniforms. Not only that, we have also had food drives where we were giving away free turkeys and everything in our parking lot. And even during the pandemic, we were also having services and having all types of events because people needed an outreach. And so we allow people to be able to come and fellowship with us and provide resources that they need. So I just really want to say that I hope and pray that you guys will consider Greater Victory to be a part of this awesome community that we already currently serve.
Hey, how are you doing? Yeah. I'm a resident of South Fulton, and I just want to say to you all, that Old National Highway needs a hero. Needs somebody to step in. With everything that's going on up and down Old National Highway, this church, this ministry has adopted schools and being very active in the community. So prayerfully you would vote in that favor so continue to serve that community, and make Old National, a better place.
Thank you. And Rakia Brown.
Okay, I am also a resident of South Fulton. I have been a member of Great Fulton since its inception. That is my aunt. And so, I guess I wanted to share a different perspective in the community part of why we would be an asset to the city of South Fulton. As all the parishioners have mentioned, we are a ministry that believes in coming outside of the four walls. Since the pandemic, we had services outside, and even after the pandemic and returning to the building, we take our services outside as a way to reach those who may be on their porch, who may be sitting outside, who may be not sure that they want to come over, but they can hear what is going on and where they are, and they can decide to come over. And a church and a community can never be a negative thing in my eyes, so I think that we definitely be a positive influence on Old National and be able to make some substantial changes.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for, okay. Do we have any cards again? Okay. In that case, I will close the public hearing. We'll move on to questions. Commissioners, does anyone have another question? Yes. Commissioner Devon?
Gentlemen, you mentioned the seat capacity, and you may have mentioned the parking capacity, but I missed it, and
I did not mention the parking capacity. We have 121 parking spaces listed. Now, the code does not require that many. The code, in our opinion, when we designed the facility, we felt like the number of parking spaces were inadequate because based on the number of seats within the sanctuary, our architect advised that we needed 88 parking spaces, and I told him I did not think that was adequate. So we added the others to put us up to just over 120. And obviously, if with the land that we have, if there comes a time where parking becomes an issue, we do have the other 8 or so acres that we're not disturbing to add to the additional parking. And we would do that in a way that it would not be hard surface, so it would not impact stormwater runoff. But it is over 120.
Thank you.
You said they were pre-approved. How long ago were they pre-approved? That's one question. And the next question is, if so, I know there's a deadline or whatever, do they have to resubmit to be approved again?
Well, and we have done that. As a matter of fact, it was 2 years ago when we had the meeting. We have since. And I don't know how to put this any other way than on our end, we have tried to meet every deadline that was put forward to us. Sometimes we have not been privy to information or knowledge that we need as rapidly as we should. So in order to make sure we did that recently, before this process began, we resubmitted everything. So it's less than 2 months old.
Okay.
And that was with the amended plans, because at one point, we had about 1.5 feet of parking space that was encroaching upon all of the setbacks for the state highway. So we shifted everything back on that corner 1.5 feet. So that was the only issue that we had, so we made that correction. But everything else was submitted a month ago?
Yes.
Month ago.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? No more questions? I'll go ahead and.
Make a motion to approve staff's finding on facts.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded.
Second.
Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Walters.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Devon. Commissioner Boone.
You guys have it? I'll now entertain a motion to approve, deny, or defer this case.
I make a motion to approve U 23-01.
I second.
Yes, sir. Oh, no.
Based on staff's recommendation.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Walters.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Devon. And Commissioner Boone.
thank you. This is case Z23012. It's an application to rezone property at 4700 Waccamaw Road from the AG1 Agricultural Zoning District to the CDP Community Unit Plan Zoning District to develop a subdivision with 35 front entry townhome units on 20-foot wide lots and 47 single-family detached homes on 40-foot wide lots on 14.91 acres of land. This is City Council District 3. And this is Waccamaw Park, the city. Waccamaw is City Council District 3, so. Again, that was in this case. Certainly apologize for that. This is, and staff recommendation is.
Okay, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing to the applicant present.
Good evening. My name is Keeler Jackson. I am a senior planner with that law firm, and we are representing our client DRB Group Homes. And we are seeking a rezoning tonight at the property of 4700 Waccamaw Road. We are seeking a rezoning from AG to CUP to allow for a 35 front entry townhome units as well as 47 single-family detached homes. The property, again, is located at 4700 Waccamaw Road. The acreage is 14.91, and as you see in your packet, it gives a description of the lots. So let me give you a little background of DRB. DRB is an award-winning developer. They are known here on the East Coast, and they have built here in the city of South Fulton before, Templeton Road area. We have other developments in other counties such as McDonough, Locust Grove, etc. They are a residential builder brand, a title company of residential development services. This development is representing, or we are proposing 2 housing types. As we stated, we're seeking townhomes and residential development. The property, again, is zone AG1. We feel that the current zoning does not allow for what we're proposing, so that's why we're seeking a rezoning. The agricultural and rural area is one of the components of a suburban neighborhood future land use, and of course, our development will not fit under that proposal. What we're seeking does fit under the comprehensive plan, so we are meeting that requirement. We will be, I don't know if there's the site plan, we will have significant buffers around the property. In the back of the property, if we can show you the site plan. So in the rear of the property, we would have about 150 buffers, so we're exceeding the minimum requirement. As you can see, there's state borders in the rear, which the state law says that you must have at least 75-foot buffer. We're doubling that. Around the sides of both on the top in the north and south, we will have about 40 to 50-foot buffer. So we are definitely being generous there. As you can see the site plan, you have one ingress, egress from Waccamaw Road. It opens up to single-family homes, and then the townhomes will be in the rear of the development. And we are not asking to have anything less than what is before you. We have had a community meeting, actually 2 community meetings. Unfortunately, no one came to show support or against the proposal. And so we're here before you today asking the city to honor the staff's recommendation of approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney cards for, Ms. Jackson and,
Hello, you may hear from Women's Left Homes and I represent ERB Homes. Just wanted to give you a little bit more feedback about tonight. The price point is going to be low to mid 300,000s. There will be brick facade, it'll be on that side as well. Just wanted to give you some representation of our product. So it'll be consistent of brick, hardy plank, board batten, just fresh, modern look in the district. The square footages will range from 1,200 square feet to 2,300 square feet. And the suburban neighborhood supports the future land plans. And I'll leave the rest of the time for any reports.
were there any cards for, other than that?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to against, are there any cards against?
Major Halls.
Good afternoon. I live in that subdivision. We built a home there in 2000.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I was like, what am I looking for? Just one moment. He's getting the time together so that we're aware.
We're ready now.
You ready?
Thank you for this opportunity. Unlike this, that's not normal for me. My nerves are a little stronger than that. One of the pieces of evidence that we have against this is the rating. This is the rating.
I'm sorry, they're waiting for the RV. Okay.
Yes. And would you pass it down, please, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate this opportunity. I haven't done this in many years. We take pride in where we live and our surroundings. I wish you all could just drive out and take a look at it. You will see that so far we've done a good job. Now we have a builder coming in that doesn't have a good reputation. The evidence is here. I don't know anything else to say, other than I would not present this to you if it wasn't true. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hollis?
Hello. Hello. And I thank you guys too for this opportunity. My staff recommendation said approval, and I don't understand this whole process. You know, this is the first time I've had to come up and try to fight for our neighborhood. We had our house built in 2008. And we live at 4184 Kenwood Drive. Kenwood Trail. Yeah, Kenwood Trail. And the, whatever you call it, whatever they're trying to build, it's like right behind our property. I mean, like, our property is right here. That's our property, and that's where they're going. So that's like right behind us. That's what it looks like, based on what they have. And that is a problem for us. In addition to, that's our house, and this is where they're going. So that to me is a problem, having somebody that close to us, where we are. You know, I just find it a problem. Like my husband, I really don't know what more to say. I'm very emotional about this, and especially seeing this where it says staff approval. I don't really know what that means, but I know for us and some of our neighbors was unable to be here because they're traveling. And then as far as them saying a community meeting, that they had 2 community meetings, we were not aware of any community meetings. We're here tonight because there is a sign, and I noticed they also mentioned that, it's because there is a notice on the street in front of 4700 Welcome All Road, so we were able to see that. Nobody sent us anything in the mail. We also got mailing from you guys indicating this. So why did we get a mailing for this and not for the prior 2 meetings that they're saying that they had? What happened with that? Because if they had our address for this, then they should have had our address and been able to notify us prior to this meeting.
Thank you.
Barbara Thomas?
Good evening. This is my first time doing this. I live right across the street from the houses. Last year, March 6th, I purchased my home as a retirement home. And now to understand that a developer is gonna come and put some townhomes in our community. And to me, that will bring our property value down. Sometimes in renting townhomes, we get all different types of things to go on in the community. That will not allow the property value to go up. And we don't know what it's gonna bring to our community. With a developer coming in and putting townhomes there. And I'm not against, Section 8, anything like that, I'm not against it. But sometimes they do come in and they don't keep up the property. Mr. Hollis makes me, not physically makes me, but when I look at his yard, now I came from lawn maintenance from the city of Atlanta for 30 years. But when I see his yard, it makes me want to continue to keep my yard looking good. So I bought me a ride mower. Mr. Hollis walk. You know, but I'm like, I came from doing lawn maintenance. You know, if at my age, 63, compared to his age, and I'm praying to get there and to continue to take care, to take care of the community, and I want the same thing. I don't want nobody in there coming in there tearing up our community. That's what we live and retire for, to have exactly what we want.
I would say Ella home.
Thank you.
According to the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm just, yeah, you have to speak when you're called, because it's a legal proceeding. But thank you. Are there any more, Jason? Are there any more cards? No, okay. Then there, how many cards are there? 5 minutes and 30. I don't have to keep on Thank you. All right. Would you like to come up for your rebuttal?
Yes, please.
Okay, you have 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, first, I am a resident of South Fulton. We did host 2 community meetings in June. And we also sent out flyers to 1,200 residents in the surrounding area. There was some outside feedback that we did incorporate. First, initially, we had all townhomes, so we took the feedback and placed the townhome pod to the rear of the property, and then had the single families property from the front of the property. We did incorporate significant buffers, even though the property line shows that it's abutting the adjoining neighbor. We are allowing additional buffers, and we designed also the plans around the natural vegetation as well as the wetland areas.
I want to say I am too a resident of South Fulton for 4 years. I know I don't have longevity like some of you. However, I will say prior to moving into my home, I too owned a townhome, and I took care of my townhome. That was my home, whether I rented or bought, it was still my home. So to say that townhome owners or renters do not take care of their property, I just want you to know that I did come from that before I became a homeowner. I also would like to say that these are fee simple. They will not be rented. They are also, I want to just expand on the buffer comment. Again, on the north and south of the property, we will have at least 40-foot buffers. Because we're building adjacent to a residential development, the city code does not require those buffers. So that is something that we are giving in addition to make the current homeowners feel comfortable. The rear will have a 150-foot buffer. So the community in the rear, we're not asking to disturb anything. We're going to keep the natural vegetation that's already there. I also would like to state in the comment rental, there was a comment about the rental. This board has the autonomy to provide a condition. If you want us to adhere to a percentage, we're open to that. We spoke to the fact that we had 2 community meetings. Unfortunately, no one came. The city had a community meeting. No one came. We're open to going back to the community if the board feels that is feasible. We're open to that. Of course, we wanted to meet with the community. We wanted to get feedback. We're open to doing that again if a deferral is on the table to do that, and if that's okay with my client. We've been working on this since the beginning of this year, just trying to get feedback from the community. We even met with the city council person, and we received feedback from her. So those are all of my comments I have at this time. I give it back to the board.
Is there more rebuttal? No.
That was our rebuttal.
Your rebuttal is complete. Okay, I was just we'll now close the public hearing, and commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Devon?
No, that was me.
Sorry. I can't actually see you because you're so far away.
The whole total property is 15 acres. How many acres for the townhomes and how many acres for the single family? 47 single family, 35 townhomes?
That is correct. So there's more single family than there are townhomes. But I don't know if there's acreage for each portion.
Okay, well, so when I just added the 82 total with the 15 acres, that's not a lot of.
Not a lot of space, exactly.
But Commissioner Green?
Yes, you said you mailed, how did you try to get in touch with the 1,200 resident? Was that by snail mail, email?
No, it was like a postcard similar to what they received tonight. We requested a radius of a 1 mile, and those colors went out.
And out of 1,200 1200, you received zero
We
feedback?
went to the Welcome All Park Center, waited there, we spoke with staff and people who were coming in about the project, because they were interested to see why we were there. And that's where that other feedback came from regarding the towns and the others.
Okay, so you sent the postcards out, you got no feedback, but you had a meeting?
Well, the knowledge work for the meeting, just no one showed up.
Okay.
Any more questions? Is there intended to be an HOA or?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been an environmental study done on the site?
There has been, yes.
Can you expound?
Elaborate, absolutely, they found state waters, which they advised us that we need to do future, additional, studies regarding the wetland impacts. And we tried to design the site around there so we minimize the impact. And then also, we performed a, environmental phase 1, which recognizable environmental concerns were found.
There are wetlands, so
Yes,
that
there
will
is.
be built upon eventually.
They will be encroached just to build a road, which we will have to purchase a mitigation credit from the U.S. Corps of Engineers.
Question, comment, do you have a copy of the notice that went out?
I do not.
I do not, but we can get you a copy.
And the city had a meeting
The city had a meeting, we had our own independent
At
meeting, we
Welcome
had
Hall?
two. Yes, one at Welcome Hall and the other on Zoom.
Okay, and what day of the week was that?
The one at Welcome Hall was on a Thursday night, and actually they both were on a Thursday night.
In June?
One was in July, was it June?
The first one was at June, and the other one
And it was in July.
We thought that since no one came, that we had a virtual meeting, more people would attend.
This is my comment, I think that the community may need more time to actually make sure that they got it this time. Be looking forward, because if we were to recommend a deferral tonight, then, it's up next month. So, the community needs to be notified.
Anyone else?
Awesome.
One other question.
Yes.
Are you able to build on the entire 14.9 acres? You said they're wetlands.
No, within this district, we're required to, preserve those areas, so they're not buildable areas.
So we don't really know how many, with 82 homes, how many homes per acre?
I believe it's 6 or 4 per acre.
Says 5.5.
5.5?
And currently, the community that's there, how many homes per acre? Would you know that?
Right now, how many homes are
Yeah,
within
the
the
existing.
vicinity of the area? 1,200 within a mile. And the future land use map, that you all adopted in 2021 allowed for that particular, density because of the neighboring, high manufacturing use, because adjacent to that property, there's a warehouse.
Thank you.
May I ask a question, please? I see something on this property that appears to be a house, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Mm-hmm. And so, at the risk of sounding like I really don't know, how is it on that particular, map?
It's in an overlay, you can clearly see it, we're just in the front of the property, where the main area is.
It's right.
You're talking about this right here.
Okay. Okay. I see. Is someone in that, living in that home?
Yes, I'm correct.
So you don't plan on destroying it?
they're selling the property to us.
Huh?
They're selling the property to us.
So they're gonna stay there with their house?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Everyone's done? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I'll now entertain a motion to approve the staff's findings of fact.
Make a motion to approve staff's finding of facts.
No, there's an error. He said it was District 3, it's District 5 on our documents. On the application information again.
History. Yeah, we got it.
So is it 3 or is it 5? I don't know.
District 3.
Okay. Well, according to our documents, twice in here it's saying 5.
I make a motion to approve staff's facts, with the exception of the district.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner DeVon. Commissioner Boone.
Abstain.
The ayes have it.
We will now entertain a motion to approve the deny or defer this case.
I make a motion to defer Z 301-2, until the next meeting, so that the community can be properly notified and a meeting can be held.
I second that.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner DeVon. Commissioner Boone.
Nay.
The ayes have it.
All right, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Howard, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Hadley.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner DeVon. Commissioner Boone.
Exactly.